just kind of wanted to do a quick, like, off the top recap of the main event. I was going to talk about like the co-main or the rest. The rest of the card was good, other than the co-main and the main event. But I'll go through the main event real quick. Obviously, not my desired result. I'm a big JDM fan. I'm a big Islam fan too. I more than anything, I wanted JDM to win, but more than anything, I did want this to be a good fight, and I'm really disappointed it wasn't. And I'll kind of talk about why I think that was. For one, we saw the same thing with Khamzat against DDP. I hope this doesn't become like the new meta, but you know, Khamzat against DDP, it's one of his most interesting matchups of his career. Same thing with Makhachev JDM. I get you can say that about every, you know, following fight, like against Volkanovski in both fights, that was probably like Islam's most interesting matchup at the time. And against, you know, Usman, that was the most interesting matchup for Khamzat. But when they fight their most interesting matchup, you know, people that you think have answers for the style, what they do is they get a takedown, they get to a good position like half guard, or in Khamzat's, you know, version, he got into a lot more dominant positions like the back take and the crucifix and side control, whatever. But they get on top and they keep their hips really low, and they get, you know, a body lock, or they hold on to, you know, both wrists or get underhooks or whatever. They just hold position, and they focus on not even just position more than submission, just position over everything, and positional control. And not only, you know, when it's a guy who's a dominant grappler and they're in a title fight or in a main event, that's never going to get stood up. And I feel like that's just an unfortunate like quirk in MMA rules, is if you can get the takedown, you can get the position, and you can hold it, you're kind of just set if you're in the right kind of fight. Like we saw Edwards against Prates. He got the position he wanted in the first round, which was, you know, like a dominant position in the clinch. And, you know, later he got the back control, whatever. And he was there for like 30 seconds, and the ref broke it up because there was no action. But there was about as much action there, probably even more with knees to the body and you know, pitter-pat punches than we saw in a lot of the positions in the main event. Even like in the fifth round, we saw Islam had top control with his hips low in full guard for like 90 seconds where nothing happened. He didn't even attempt any submissions. He didn't attempt any punches. He was just going for wrist control, trying to knee slice, trying to pass guard, but not, you know, hard enough to give JDM a chance to get up, which, you know, that's just how it's going to be, I guess. I don't know what the solution is. Also, I saw a lot of people, you know, saying, you know, obviously, like, you're not going to go out there and compliment JDM's grappling, but I think that people are uneducated in the way they say that JDM looked really shit in the grappling. The questions that JDM had for Islam were, one, we saw against Bilal, if Bilal was desperate, like he was behind in the fight, like in the fifth round, when he got a takedown, and he needed control, and he needed to like do something with his control because he was behind in the fight, or, you know, it was a close fight, JDM was able to reverse positions very well and get up. He used things like sweeps from half guard and rolls to create motion, break the inertia, whatever, to get up. And he wasn't able to do that against Islam because Islam kept his hips really low and, again, prioritized control more than like a dominant finishing position or a dominant damaging position or submission attempts or whatever. So that question wasn't answered. And then the takedown defense, a lot of people are coming at JDM's takedown defense because, you know, he hardly stuffed any takedowns, which is true. But the first takedown in the first round, Islam shot for a single leg because JDM was in southpaw. I said in my prediction, in my you know, pre-cap of the fight, that JDM shouldn't be in southpaw because it makes a single leg easier, and also he'd probably do worse in the striking from there. He should make Islam switch if he wants a close stance matchup, which I kind of stand by. I'll talk about this. I guess I'll bring this up. I was hardly listening to the commentary. I had it like really quiet, and I heard Joe Rogan say Jack Della Maddalena should switch from southpaw to orthodox. He's going to do a lot better work there. I'm like, oh my God, Joe Rogan actually making a good like insight about a fight. And then I listened closer, and he's like, because Islam is really beating up that calf. And it's like, oh my God, you fucking idiot. That's not how you should switch. But what was I going to say? The takedown defense. So that takedown, the first takedown where Islam just picks up the single, and then looks like he's going to tree top or whatever you call it, outside trip him on the outside. And then when JDM starts to circle the outside to prevent him from doing that, he brings his leg on the inside, and he sweeps out from the inside the back leg. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go rewatch the takedown, I guess. But that was a good takedown, and that was, I wouldn't say bad takedown defense from JDM, but that was a preventable takedown. He could have went for underhooks or, bounced around more, moved more, or got to the fence, and then started working for underhooks or whatever. That was a stuffable takedown, but I don't remember how he got taken on. Oh, the second round, the whizzer kick. That wasn't a great idea. I like the creativity, I guess. Like, if that had happened later in the fight, I would have been more okay with it because, as we know, we got a lot farther behind in the 5th round than he was in the 2nd round. By the way, if it sounds like I'm like shaking or something, I am a little like, residually nervous from the fight, but I'm also in my car because I don't want to wake my roommates up, and it's fucking freezing in my car, and I'm wearing like a t-shirt and shorts and no socks. What was I saying? Yeah, so the whizzer kick, not a great idea. It got him taken down, obviously. But if he'd been a little less aggressive for it and just used it to get himself off the cage and then wrestled up with the underhook, I think it would have been a lot more successful. And I don't think it's a bad idea to throw it out there. Again, especially if he did that later in the fight. Wouldn't have been a bad idea. And then the takedowns in rounds 3, 4, and 5, those were all reactive double legs. And they were all very, very good reactive double legs. Basically, JDM was, I don't even want to say overextending. I mean, it was such a good takedown by Islam. I feel like I'm taking away from it by saying that JDM made a mistake by getting taken down by it. But those takedowns are taken down anyway. Like I saw Ilya, people are talking about, well, Ilya, he's got a great takedown defense. He's a great grappler. Ilya's getting taken down by those takedowns. If he has to overextend or even, extend at all later in the fight, and he doesn't have, superhuman reflexes, and Islam can time a takedown like he did, I mean, literally you can find the best wrestlers in the world. They're getting taken down by those takedowns. I mean, like Jordan Burroughs, you can get a heavyweight like Gable Stevenson. What are they going to do to stop those takedowns? I mean, the one in the 5th round, JDM started to sprawl it, and I feel like maybe if he was bigger, like I think DDP might have stuffed that takedown based on what we saw him stuff in the 5th round against Hamzat, just because he's so much bigger. But like again, I don't come away from this fight being like, JDM looked really bad in the grappling, and if you thought that he could out-grapple Islam, you're an idiot. Now, obviously, he got dominated in the grappling. He lost probably 20 minutes of the fight in the grappling, but I'm not, taking everything away. I'm not going to say, like, this shit that he did against Bilal wasn't impressive, and, the scramble that he had against Gilbert Burns in the 3rd round of their fight wasn't impressive. So, yeah. That's what I think of the grappling. As far as the fight being boring, I compared it, like I said at the beginning, I compared a lot to the Hamzat fight where, I think both Islam and Hamzat knew the threats that their opponents provided, and they didn't want to risk, obviously they don't want to risk losing the fight, but they didn't want to risk the unique challenges of their opponent, and they game planned it really well on their opponent. Like the hollow half guard, or the deep half guard rather, is a reversal or a position used a lot by JDM and DDP. Like I've seen both of them use it pretty well in their career, and even JDM had a little bit of success using it in this fight. The styles that they used, like keeping their hips low and having underhooks, that's a great way to prevent that sort of position. So it's a good game plan. It's a really boring outcome. And I will say, like, I think the Hamzat fight was a lot more egregious as far as it being boring. Or maybe not. I don't know. My thinking is Hamzat had the crucifix and mount. So if he wanted those positions and he wanted to go for a finish, we know he could have. It's not very difficult to get a position for the mounted crucifix. It's not very difficult to get a position from 2x on the back while your opponent's flattened out and you're on top of them. But with Islam, it's a little different because he spent most of the fight in half guard, and half guard is not nearly the finishing position of mount and the crucifix. I mean, we've seen Islam get finishes from there before, but the circumstances were a little different in those fights. So we saw Islam like definitely going for a knee slice a lot from half guard. Like he's definitely trying to pass in him out. He's definitely trying to pass into side control, and maybe he didn't have the skills to get there in the way he wanted to, and that's why the fight ended up being boring. But I definitely also think that he was like, well, I could put 10% effort into getting this transition and have a 95% chance of staying at least in half guard, or I can put 50% effort into going for this transition and have a 50% chance of losing my position. And he's like, I guess I'll stay in half guard. It's probably, I'll put a little bit of effort in trying to pass, but focus mainly on, staying in half guard. So we did that. So, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The submission attempts, I mean, again, if you're trying to take anything away from JDM's grappling, the darce that Islam has is one of the best darces we've seen in MMA. The arm locks we've seen, I mean, arm locks are rare in MMA. Straight arm locks in Kimuras especially. And that's basically all Islam attempted from half guard were those straight arm locks and the Kimuras against the cage. And JDM, stopped them very well. The darce he stopped very well. The mounted guillotine I was a little bit worried about because that's a little bit more of like a wrestling type of submission. Like you see a lot more like dominant wrestlers get mounted guillotines rather than like a jiu-jitsu. Like Craig Jones, I don't think gets mounted guillotines as much as he gets other front chokes like ninja chokes and anacondas and darces or whatever. But I thought JDM did a great job defending those. Yeah, I don't know who he fights next. I don't know who Islam fights next. I imagine probably just for legacy, just because it's Islam, they're going to do Usman. That's what they did with him at lightweight. After the Volkanovski fight, they were going to give Charles the rematch because there was no good contenders. But once there was like 0 good contenders, including Oliveira, they just gave him Dustin Poirier because that was the best legacy fight. I guess like as far as name value, I think Arman would have been a better legacy fight. But the whole thing with 300, I don't know. I think it's very possible that they're like, we want to book this fight quick. Islam didn't take a lot of damage. Oh, Morales and Prates, you guys just fought. We'll give you a little time off. Maybe you can fight each other. Usman's on the burner. Let's do him. Islam said he wanted to fight on the White House card. I don't know if that's going to happen. I can't imagine. I mean, I know he won both belts on this fight, but I can't imagine the UFC super happy with him. So I'd be surprised if they give him that opportunity. But I wouldn't hate it. I mean, if they for some reason do Ilya versus Islam at 170 for the triple belt or triple champ versus double champ, or double champ versus double champ, I wouldn't hate that. I mean, that'd be a banger fight, and there's probably no better place to do it. I guess as far as like how many people are gonna watch the fight. But I don't know. I doubt they do it. I think they're just gonna have an American champion and then line it up with like the early prelims, the prelims, and the whole main card is gonna be like good American fighters, or big name fighters. Like I don't think it's gonna be. I think it might be like Noche. I guess Noche had O'Malley, but O'Malley's he's not Mexican. I don't know. It might be like UFC 300, where if Alex Pereira didn't get in that fight, it was going to be a Zhang Weili, Yan Jianan main event, but the rest of the card was stacked with big name fighters. So, I mean, yeah, we had Prates and Morales win on this card. I want to see Prates versus Shavkat. I think that's a good way to break up the whole Shavkat, beat Ian Gary, and then Ian Gary beat Prates, and Ian Gary, has the best age wins at welterweight other than Shavkat, but Shavkat doesn't fight. If you do Prates versus Shavkat, and Prates beats Shavkat, then you have reason to give Prates a title shot. You have a better reason to give Ian Gary a title shot. So it kind of breaks up that whole Shavkat is probably the most deserving because he didn't lose and he beat Ian Gary, who's like probably the third best welterweight. But I don't know. I mean, it's going to be weird because Islam's there and we don't know how long he's going to stick around. He might win one and drop back to 155 or win one and retire. I don't know. I don't know what to do with welterweight. I was thinking this with Prates, and now I'm kind of thinking about it with JDM, and it makes me a little more copacetic. I was thinking when Edwards won the first round, I thought Prates might lose. And I'm like, at least if Prates loses, and I thought this with Ian Gary too, we get to see Prates against like more entertaining matchups because they don't have to prioritize like the rightful title shot owners or title eliminators, so they can just put him against entertaining fighters like they did with Jeff Neal. And now we have that with JDM, so I think there's a good chance we get JDM versus Prates, or JDM versus Morales, or JDM versus Shavkat, which I think would be a banger. I think a lot of people, if they do JDM versus Shavkat, will be like, well, Shavkat's a Caucasian wrestler, even though he's not. He's kind of from the Caucasus, I guess. I don't really know how far the Caucasus stretches east. But yeah, that was a pretty good card other than the main and co-main. It is interesting that, like, all of the double champ fights ever, I'm pretty sure, have been, like, very entertaining. And then we have 2 on one card, and they're both fucking dog shit. But, I don't know. I was more interested by anything on this card than the matchup between Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev. And the fight ended up, we saw how Islam dealt with the matchup, and it's like, well, that's one way to deal with it, I guess. So it would have been more entertaining to like see that matchup on the feet, or see how Islam deals with the scrambling. I mean, maybe he did. I don't know. I will say I think I'm giving Islam a little bit too much shit. I mean, JDM anytime, even I don't know if it happened in the 5th round, but definitely in the 4th round, he was trying to get up using his like normal get-ups, and Islam would threaten the Darce or the mounted guillotine, and he would just drop to his back right away, right back in half guard. And if you're behind in a kind of fight like that, and if if it's a boring fight and someone's got to be blamed for it being boring, try to fight through the submission rather than drop into your back and get up. Like that probably would have improved. Well, obviously we know it would have improved his chances of winning. If he gets on the feet at all, it would have been more. It would have helped his chances of winning rather than being flat on his back. So yeah, maybe he should have done that. I don't know if I brought 7. Like maybe he's injured. He was wincing a lot. He had like a look on his face like he was injured going into the 5th round. He got out of the cage right away, which makes you think he's injured. But I think there's a good chance that Islam landed a couple good kicks in the 1st round. Maybe he re-broke his arm or injured something like that. Maybe he broke a rib or something. The way he was wincing when he was on the bottom made it look like he was definitely either the arm or the ribs. And fucking Joe Rogan is like, it's definitely the calf. It's like, dude, no one winces at their fucking calf being numb, retard. Whatever. So pardon my French. Yeah. So that's my take on the card. I'm not going to do a review of the whole card. My picks were pretty solid until the last couple fights. I actually got the last 3 wrong, but I think before then I was like, 9-4 or something like that. I don't know. I got my practice pick right. I'm happy about that. My boy won. I'm gonna go watch the one event. Excuse me. I'll upload this. I saw Shinya Aoki lost. That sucks, especially with this moment at the face-off. But yeah, thank you for listening. Like the video, share the video. Maybe don't look at my Twitter. I'll put the link in the description. But it's just me coping about the fight, really, and the co-main. But maybe I tweeted something funny or interesting or whatever before the main or co-main. Yeah. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. Again, follow me on Twitter if you want to see, my live tweeting. I've got a playlist with my predictions for every fight that's happened this year on my channel, so go look at that. Yeah, thank you for listening.